Hello and welcome. This is my speech 110 class, or excuse me, 1110 class. This is my third speech, and this is a speech on how to inform. Today I'm going to inform you guys on how to create an effective and successful resume. So do me a favor, imagine this. Imagine someone forming an opinion of you within the first 15 seconds of you meeting them, just by a piece of paper. Kind of scary, right? Okay, so basically what I'm talking about is your resume. So when you're looking to move on to a new job, you're looking at, moving on, starting a career, literally the first 15 seconds of your interview with someone is them glancing over your resume and them forming an opinion of you. So how can you make sure that this opinion is a strong and a positive one? How can you make sure that you are miles ahead of your competition or your peers? Well, I'm going to give you basically 5 main things, 5 main items to include on your resume, and how to clean those up and make sure those are crisp, clean, and concise. And if you have those 5 things and you've done a solid job with them, you should be able to walk into an interview, hand them your resume, and you should be miles ahead of everybody else. So with that, the first thing that I have found is the summary of qualification. Summary of your qualifications. So basically what this is items that describe you and your career, or you and the job you're trying to portray. So with these, I would be very short, to the point, very pointed, very bold words, very strong words, eye-grabbing words. These are things that describe you and why you'd be good at your position. So, just for an example, here's my resume and my key skills. My key skills are on here. So, like me, I'm a construction project manager. So, basically, my skills are they're bulleted, they're to the point. I am very good at estimating and a bid proposal. I have experience in contract review. I have OSHPD experience because I mainly work in hospital industry. So, you want key skills, key qualifications that relate you to the job that you're applying for. So everything about you, I wouldn't recommend going in sentences, but if you want to, you can. But I just went bullet points, a few words, strong, bold words that are eye-grabbing, attention getters. Another thing that I found on the internet about your qualifications is do not, like I did, obviously, I included a summary statement. After the research that I did, it said do not include a summary statement. So it's basically redundant, and it's just a do-over basically of the next step that you're going to show is your key skills or your qualifications. So don't include those. Make sure, if you're going to use bold, attention-getting, grabbing words, that you ensure that the verbiage is correct. You don't want to be using the wrong syllables or the wrong endings to these words to make you sound kind of funny, or to make you get a step back in your interview. Item number 2 that you want to make sure is on your resume for you to be successful is work history. Now, work history is pretty self-explanatory. You want to be very specific and use examples of jobs that you've held and basically things that you've done in that job. So like me, I have, if you go back to the handout, I am professional experience. I was a project manager and also a project engineer for KHS&S Contractors. But I also go into my project highlights and what I did as a project engineer and a project manager. Very specific, using statistics, using things that I've implemented, procedures, plans, ideas, things that I help do within each one of these jobs. That's something that the employer is going to have to take the time to read through and really just get a feel for who you are just from that information. So another thing that I would be very careful of is how you describe yourself. So what I have here is I have an example that I put together of someone that could be the same person. They're 2 different descriptions, but they could be the same person. So here's the first one. Worked as a project manager for a drywall company. That's his work experience. Seems pretty not descriptive, pretty plain. Here's the second one. Worked as a project manager of the Santa Barbara Cottage Hospital, $42 million contract, with scopes of work including framing, drywall, plaster, water feature, precast stone, and specialty finishes. So, you know, if I was an employer and I saw the first one, I'd be like, okay, so now I got to ask you a bunch of questions. If I saw the second one, the employer is actually going to ask questions about what you were doing on that project and how it all worked out for you, and you know, he's going to get a better feel for who you are versus the first one. Another thing with work history is you do not have to include positions that you held for a short amount of time, but if they're relevant to the position that you're applying for, I would say put them on there. Anything relevant to the position you're going for is going to help your cause and help you put yourself ahead of your peers or your competition. Another thing that I would include is side work. Anything that you do for extra cash that is somewhat relevant, doesn't always have to be relevant. Like me, I do CAD work on the side of being a project manager, and CAD is basically I just draw out floor plans for people's houses. I would put that on there if it was a steady income that I have. Mine's not really a steady income, so I'm not going to put it on there. But I know some people that are, you know, they're handyman by trade or they're handyman as side work, but by trade they're a project superintendent on the job site. So I would put that on there because it shows, A, you don't mind working after you work, you have strong organization skills, and you know, you're just a go-getter. You're looking at other ways to make money for yourself. The third thing to include on your resume is your education. So this is where resumes can differentiate from each other. A person that is just graduating from college is going to have a little bit different of an education qualification line item versus someone that's already had a career and that is looking at switching jobs. Someone that is in the postgraduate, just graduating from college, should include college degree, associates, bachelor's, master's, whatever degree they had, what school it was from, and the years they were in school. And they would also include their high school diploma, their GED, you know, anything that related to high school, and what year they graduated from that. What that does is show that, you know, you took the step from high school and moved all the way to college and you finished college. While someone moving into a different career will probably only go back as far as college. They'll only put on their degrees they had. They're not really going to go all the way back to high school because that's just not relevant to them. You know, they've already had a job, they've had a career. They want to, you know, accentuate their work experience versus their education because they've had more work experience. So someone that's coming out of college wants to really accentuate their education and now moving into the work world. The fourth thing that'll help you into making your resume stronger, better, give you a better chance of getting ahead of your peers is your training and your accomplishments. Now, what this is on mine, I called it my professional development because that's basically, to me, that's what it is. I'm developing as a professional by training and, you know, gaining accomplishment for the company I work for. So make sure you include any types of specialty trainings, any types of seminars that you went through with the company, anything that's relevant to the job that you're applying for. Do not forget to include volunteer hours on your accomplishments. If you work for Habitat for Humanity, if you volunteer for the American Heart Association, if you do anything like that, make sure and show that to your employers because employers really do enjoy having people that like to give back and have a second chance, or give back and perform a little. Okay, so the fifth and final thing in creating an effective resume is you need to make sure that you have your contact information on the resume. Basic things with contact information are you want to have your full name, or by that I mean your first and last name, just so they know who you are. You need to have an email address. Make sure it's a professional one. No profanity, nothing like that. I actually have a separate email address set up just for if I send out my resume or I'm applying to different jobs. You also want to include your home address, just so these guys have an idea of where you're from. So what they actually do with that is, say if I applied to somewhere in the Midwest, they're going to see I have a California address, so they're going to start clicking and thinking, okay, this guy might come with, I might have to move him out here, I might have to pay for his first and last month's rent. So they're going to weigh in all the options just in case they are thinking about hiring you. And you also want to include a phone number that they can contact you throughout the day, just to make sure, if they want to set up an interview or if they want more information, such as your references. So each resume you send out needs to be tailored to the job position that you're applying for. Each employer is going to look for different things. Construction companies obviously going to look for different things than a medical office or anything like that. So make sure your resume is tailored towards the type of position you're applying for. Make sure you do your homework on the company. If you're able to emphasize different qualities or skills that you have based on the company that you're going to be working for, they're obviously going to pay more attention to your resume than someone else's who may not have done the research. Now, this is just all the basic things that I found. There's plenty of things, do's and do nots on the internet, but if you keep the main 5 things that we just talked about, which is your qualifications, your work history, your education, your training, and your contact information, your resume is surely going to get you ahead of a lot of other people in the game. That's it. Thanks, guys. We got it. Marshall, Eric, Sean, and Jim were all part of my speech.